Welcome to Me Time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. So, I am super excited because this is another episode of Corporate Women Speak. And I'm extra excited today because I have my mentor on, Chris Hansen. And you guys have heard me mention her name a few times. Guess what? She on the podcast now, huh? So I'm very excited. And I'm going to take a step back and let Chris introduce herself to the Me Timers. Chris, would you introduce yourself?
Hey, Renee. I'm so happy to be here with you talking about this subject. I think it's really important that we help younger women enter the corporate world and share with them the advice that we have learned maybe the hard way. So happy to be here.
Yes. There's definitely some lessons learned there, and I'm glad that you're here. I'm super excited. I'm going to have to contain myself actually because I'm so excited. I've shared a lot with my me timers about how I would be bouncing off the walls, and Chris would say, "Hey, that's too many walls. Bring it back over here." So I am super excited to share this with emerging adult women that are entering the workforce, or even women that are currently in the workforce, and they're just like, "What do I do now? Where do I go?" So before I get started, I always like to start with a mental victory vibe celebration. So, Chris, what have you done for yourself lately?
I will tell you, about a week ago, I was out on a boat ride, had a lot of stresses on my mind, but when that boat sped up, I could feel the stresses blowing away from my face as the wind blew at me. So it was a moment of perfect peace with the sunshine, the ocean. Getting out in nature always helps me, but really physically felt the stresses leave me. So that was my victory celebration right there.
Oh, I love that. I love the water. I just love being out in nature. And it's a great way to practice gratitude. So, stemming off of that, what would you say your personal empowerment and self love theme song is?
Hmm. Katy Perry's "Eye of the Tiger."
Okay. I have that on my workout list.
That's my empowerment song. When I need a little boost, that's what I play. That or Bulletproof, and I don't know who sings that one, but they're common theme.
All right. I think her Katy Perry for sure. I always play that. I When I used to work out with a trainer, he would make me get on the stairmaster, and it wasn't, when you work out by yourself, you go up the stairmaster and you slow it down when you want to slow it down. But when you're working with a trainer, they don't slow it down; they speed it up. And I
That's
would always make sure that song was on.
yep, good. A good motivating song.
Yes. So, Chris, what would you say is your process to express gratitude?
I think it's really important to verbally express gratitude when you are in the moment, right? In the corporate workspace, for example, if a teammate does something that I appreciate, or they're doing something that adds tremendous value to the work we're doing, I always take time to thank them and let them know I appreciate what they're doing. My personal life, of course, I show gratitude by speaking it and by doing kind things for those I'm grateful for, and likewise in the workplace, doing things that show more than your words that you are grateful for that person in your work life.
Do you think that corporate America could use random acts of kindness?
Absolutely. I think the ROI on those random acts of kindness is high, right? If you take the time to be kind, to help someone out, to express your gratitude, the benefit is enormous for the team.
I agree. I agree. It's more than just a validation is good too, but just that random act, maybe a cup of coffee, or you're getting a cup of coffee in the break room and bringing the others. I know this is what you like. This is what you got the last time. That is something that folks really appreciate. Really
Right.
appreciate.
An example, I have an amazing administrative assistant. And so I randomly sent her a bouquet of flowers delivered at the office one day. And she was so grateful for that small act. It really helped her feel valued and a good
Mhm.
part of the team.
It's very important, I think. And it's nice because they support you in so many different ways.
That's
It
right.
changes the whole dynamic, the communication, expression, being able to vocalize and articulate needs. And that was extremely important. And a lot of people were grateful to have that opportunity. For a young woman that's coming out of school, because school teaches you a lot of things, but working in the workforce teaches you the hard knocks of it all. What would you recommend their communication style be as they enter? I know they should enter with curiosity, but what else can they do?
I think it's really important to find a career path that you're passionate about. If you love the work you do, it's much easier to communicate in that lane. I'm an advocate of speaking what's on your mind. However, have to add, you need to read the room. It depends on the environment you're in. You need to read the room, understand the culture where you're at, and be as authentic and speak your mind as much as you can with that audience.
Reading the room. Now, that's something that takes time and skill to learn how to do. If an individual is not really sure, what does that mean? How do I read the room? What do I say? How do I find out? What would you recommend that they do to learn more about how to read the room and really define it for themselves? Because their read may be different from someone else.
Right, especially for somebody new in the workplace in corporate
Mhm,
America.
mhm,
So in that situation, I would advise to proceed cautiously. You don't want to come across as a bull in a china shop, right?
mhm,
You want to speak your mind, but in a polite, considerate way. Um, if There are many books out there that will help you learn how to read a room and get the vibe of the space that you're in. I would recommend doing some reading, but at more as time goes on, you learn to get a read of the room, and you learn to read reactions to what some things
mhm.
that you've said. It
I
is
think that it's
a
it's
mirror.
important to say that
Mhm.
because so often, especially in the day and age that we are right now, you want to say exactly what's on your mind. And being able to articulate what's on your mind in a manner that is has empathetic and professional
Mhm.
without sacrificing your authentic self is extremely important.
I agree.
And that's challenging.
I would also advise that if you have a strong opinion about one thing in the corporate environment, that you back it up with facts as much as you can. Back it up with data, numbers, facts, so that when you're questioned or they want to pursue that line of conversation, you have something to back it up.
Facts, not emotions. Remove the
Exactly.
emotions from it. That's an
Exactly.
important lesson. I hope you guys heard that. And it's something that you learn over time. I know I actually I did a reel maybe 2 weeks ago that when I was 20 years old, I had a job at a local hospital in Gary where I grew up. And I didn't know how to read the room. I didn't know what I was doing. So it was a woman there that she'd been there 30 years and she had questions about our generation and our work ethic. And I was like, one day she said something, and I was all in my feelings. I sat down and I sent an email because I had a friend in the office. Well, Chris, I sent an email to the entire office, not to the friend.
Yeah.
And I get back then we had beepers. It was no cell phone. My beeper goes off 911. And I go to meet my friend because that's come meet me at the water cooler, come meet me in the bathroom. She's like, why did you send that email to everyone? And I just panicked.
Right.
I panicked.
Another
And
little tidbit there is don't hit send until you review the entire email, right?
right. And when I walked back to my desk, I was still panicked. The department head called me in his office and he didn't even look up from his paperwork and he said, you're fired.
Wow. Wow. That's a harsh lesson, Renee.
Yep. Said, you're fired.
Mm.
Didn't look up, didn't say goodbye, didn't say have a nice day. You're fired.
But I bet it stuck with you.
It did. It did. It helped me to realize that sometimes I got to put my feelings on the back burner, calm down, take a breath before I open my mouth, and especially before I hit send.
Absolutely.
And I don't even keep those type of emails in draft. That really that was a true lesson for
Hmm.
me. So whoever listens to this, let that be something you put in your back pocket for sure. How does your process of juggling everything that you have to do with competing priorities and so many demands and so many people coming at you with deliverables or needs, how do you take time to just take a step back and recollaborate and just kind of decide, okay, this will be my priority here, this is one, two, three, and prioritize so that you can get through your day?
Sure. There are some days that I'm in back-to-back meetings without that time to think.
Mhm.
So I build into my schedule as much as possible, time at the start of the day and at the end of the day, to catch up on emails, but also to just think and prioritize in my own mind. I do have a lot of priorities coming at me. Everything's on fire every day from 10 different lanes. So I'm able to maintain my calm and think, what is the most important thing I must attend to right now? And that's not only with work life, that's with personal life too, because a lot of us in our personal life have many fires coming at us that we have to prioritize which one's most important.
Mhm. You're very calm now. I know some people are listening and they're like, how does she say so? Did she say 10 things? How is that possible? Um, do you take a breath first, or do you just kind of,
I
is it
do.
just part of who you are? You're like, okay, let me just take a step back and let me just move through this.
I will occasionally be a few minutes late to a meeting if I need to take a walk to calm down and breathe. I think breathing is one of the best, most effective tools we have to lower our heart rate and calm our nerves, right? In this world of Zoom meetings and video conferencing,
Mhm.
I'll often turn off my camera and walk while I'm on the call to expend the energy to get lessen the anxiety if
Oh,
needed.
I like that. I like that. Taking that opportunity, especially if it's something that you can do, turning off the camera and walking while you're doing that in the meeting, that does help. And you can think at the same time because you're processing as the words are coming at you as well. I do like that idea.
Mhm.
What advice would you offer an emerging adult woman with the self-imposed pressure that they should not show up authentically at work?
So I think when you first enter the corporate world, it's big, bad, and scary, right? Everyone has their uniform, their roles. You know, you think of business suits, and the office environment is very different from anything else we've ever experienced. They don't teach that in school, like you mentioned. I think that's again why it's very important to select a field that you're passionate about. That passion shows. Really important that you let your authentic self out, speak your truth within the confines of knowing, reading the room, right? Uh, but be passionate, speak your truth, um, and be kind with yourself, right? We tend to put higher expectations on ourselves than we
Mhm.
do on others. So be realistic about what you can and can't do. And that ties into the prioritizing. Take a few minutes in the start of the day to figure out what are the two things I have to get done today. The world won't end if I don't get the other eight done, right? So be realistic, be kind to yourself, and be authentic as much as possible.
I like that. And it's so true because it leads into the next question about perfectionism. A lot of times I hear, I'm too busy. I don't have time for that. I'm working on this and it has to be perfect. Nope. This Excel worksheet, all of the rows have to look the same. Everything must align. And they want to exceed their own self expectations. But at the same time, it's heightened, right? Because they are giving themselves no grace and no self compassion. What advice would you give a young woman newly entering the workplace um, to deal with that so that she won't develop any unhealthy coping mechanisms?
Sure. So transparency, I'm a Virgo. I am a perfectionist. In every aspect of my life, I'm a perfectionist. So I've had to struggle with this. think really important that, again, you prioritize, you think about what has to get done, what would be a nice to have, and don't set unrealistic expectations for yourself. As far as unhealthy habits, there have been days I wanted to leave the office and open a bottle of wine. Unhealthy habit, right? What I try to do instead is incorporate some kind of physical activity, whether it's go to the gym, go for a walk, right when I get home from work, so that I can get that emotion out and really settle into relaxing at home. So, self care, I would say, is probably the most important thing you can do. Be kind to yourself, set realistic expectations, go for a walk, go to a yoga class, and don't reach for the margarita.
I like that. And one of the things that I like to stem off of that is self care in the workplace. Do you have any tips for young women that they can practice at their desk? You know,
Sure. So deep breathing helps me a lot. Whether I'm in an intense situation or not, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, just taking a few deep breaths and letting things sit for a bit, so that I can again think. Right. You have to
hmm
think about what do I have to do? How can I alleviate the stress I'm under? I think it's really important that you have a good relationship with your manager so you can have an open dialogue, right? If you feel overwhelmed, talk to your boss, talk to your coworkers, help ask them to help you reprioritize.
Okay. You talked about something that I think we need to take a pause and talk a little bit about. You said talk to your boss, talk to your coworkers. Can you define what that means? Because it's not gossip, it's talking.
It's
And
yes. So you have to be very careful about gossip in the workplace. There's no space for it, right? So you're talking about work or your work situation. I think if you're overwhelmed, for example, you owe it to yourself to talk to your manager and say, hey, I'm struggling. I need a bit of time to recoup, or I need some help reprioritizing my workload. That's totally appropriate in the office space, and that's what your manager is there for, is to help you get the work done. uh, as far as talking to your coworkers, you want to be very careful about that. If you feel you can trust them, certainly share that you're overwhelmed. Do they have any helpful hints that can help you get through this? But be very careful when you're talking to your coworkers. I would rely more on your manager.
and keep it positive. Speak
Absolutely.
positivity into your life. I think it makes a difference too when you think about the conversations that you're having.
Right.
And I say that in full transparency because I can remember having just being passive aggressive in the workplace just simply because I couldn't identify what I needed for me.
Well,
So,
yes, that's where that think time comes in, Renee. That time to reflect, to if you're feeling frustrated or want to lash out or be passive aggressive, try to identify what is causing this, right? What's happening inside of me.
And it's hard to do that sometimes if you don't want to really do that self reflection. But I think that this is a really good point to talk about because self reflection is needed. It's needed in the morning when you're planning your day. You may need to do it at lunch. You may need to do it at the end of your day, but take some time to reflect.
Right. Definitely worthwhile. If you can do it several times, I highly recommend.
And it stays. You got to work at it. It's kind of like a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. That's what I
It's
like
an
to say.
exercise. It's a muscle you have to exercise. I would
hmm
also highly recommend that if you're starting new in the corporate America, to find yourself a mentor, someone that you look up to and respect,
hmm
to ask their advice on different work type situations. And if you are feeling overwhelmed or that you have set high expectations for yourself, have a regular touch point with your mentor and they can guide you through the corporate workspace. That's also another way to learn how to read the room, is talking to your mentor and asking for advice on how to read the audience.
But do you have any type of tips for young ladies when they are selecting a mentor? Because oftentimes, as teens, the mentor is selected for them. Do you recommend that it's someone that is in the same feel has the same passion that they have in the same department? Is it okay for them to venture out? What would you recommend there?
I think it's perfectly fine for them to venture out. I would look for somebody that's most likely in a higher position, that's gotten somewhere in their career, that treat, exhibits professionalism, that you respect, and that you feel you would want to emulate their behavior, right? So, someone that's certainly not the office gossip, but someone who carries himself with a high value of professionalism.
And they notice that too as they read the room. You'll know that very quickly because that'll be the person that they gravitate to.
Yeah. And it's not the person who speaks the most with the loudest voice. You
No.
have to pay attention to the quiet ones.
Mhm. Mhm. Yes, it's okay. It's okay to read the room and to observe and to take your time and look around and get to know the place. That's what I like to say. Get to know the place. Know where you're at.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
So let's talk about boundaries. When or if you must set boundaries, what is your process to ground yourself?
So, deep breaths again. I'll tell you about a situation I had. Uh, there was a coworker. He was a leader in the company I was at the time, older gentleman. He was irate. He came into my office in my face, physically in my face. So I took a minute. You have to really put your emotions in check, put them in the back seat. Took a deep breath, put my hand up, and said, uh, when you're calmed down, we can finish this conversation. But until then, you need to leave my office. But it's that stopping, acknowledging what's happening, put the emotions in the background, take a deep breath, calm yourself, and speak affirmatively and confidently.
Confidently. And it's okay that there's an element of fear there. It's okay. But at the same time, you still must be confident in who you are. And even if you're still finding yourself to say, I deserve, at that point, the conversation in your mind is, I deserve to be treated with respect. And being treated with respect doesn't mean, look, y'all, I'm not saying to be snarky and to get loud and be obnoxious. I deserve means that person deserves respect as well as you and handle it in a respectful manner.
Very well said, Renee. Totally true.
Yeah, well, hello, that was that 20-year-old me who sent out that email to the
But
entire department.
yeah, I think the hardest lesson to learn is to remove emotion
Mhm.
from your communication in the workplace. When someone comes at you like that, or any situation where you have to assert your boundaries, you want to put your feelings aside. That's also a skill that has to be practiced. That's like a muscle you need to strengthen. But you speak respectfully, calmly, professionally, to make sure your boundaries are clear.
So I have a quote. I want to get your take on this quote. The quote says, no need to hurry, no need to sparkle, no need to be anyone but oneself. And that's Virginia Woolf. And taking this quote and thinking about what young ladies, what young people, whether it's young ladies or gentlemen, what they face today, everything is social media, everything is right at their fingertips. How can they truly identify with what is said in this quote and transition that into a process, a lifestyle for them as they enter the workplace?
So my read on that quote is, be yourself, be your
Mhm,
true self,
mhm.
right? There are a lot of expectations on young women these days, both from social media, from corporate America, that you must be at this milestone at this age, or you must have accomplished this by this time. Throw that all out. I'm going to reiterate again, to find a pursuit that you're passionate about, a work that you love. Be yourself. You don't have to be the loudest in the room. with the best opinion that everyone loves. You have to be yourself, do your work, believe in what you do, and that in itself will shine.
Yes, I like that. I like that a lot. So Chris, what advice would you give your younger self to help cultivate self-trust?
So when I'm in a situation these days, my internal dialogue consists of, you've got this, right? So I tell myself, you've got this, you can do this. My advice to my younger self would be saying that same thing. Don't worry, you've got this. So have confidence. If you know what you're talking about, speak your truth.
So, guys, look, I'm real fortunate, right? This is my mentor. I guess I'll share. I guess I want to, but I will.
Go ahead. It depends on what you're going to share.
No, no, no. I was saying, I guess I'll share my mentor. I
Oh,
guess
yes.
I don't really want to, but I guess I can. Um, because you heard it here first. There were many times when I went to her and felt this exact same way. And it was nice to have someone to have this conversation and to have her on my podcast and support the passion and the vision that that I am building, not trying to, that I am building with Mind Escape Vibe is like the ultimate gift. And I just want to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate you. And you're just a great person, and I love you.
Well, thank you, Renee. I'm so happy to be here. I value your friendship tremendously. I appreciate you. I'm so proud of the woman you are.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, me timers, you heard it here. And me time with Mind Escape Vibe, where it is your time to be kind to your mind. We'll talk soon. Have a good day.